you describe the various kinds of bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said there is a transition body and then there's an energy body.
Energy body and then a transition. You don't create it, it's there. Generally in English it is referred to as the etheric body. You know, people are talking about ether. You know what's ether? Not Easter, ether. Ether is a non-physical. Generally it's assumed as non-physical. It is not totally non-physical. It is a transition between physical and non-physical. What is non-physical is never in your perception, unless you become that. What is physical can be brought into your perception. It's just a question of time and work to get everything that is physical in the existence into your perception. It is possible. If you do the necessary sadhana, all that is physical in the existence can be brought into your perception. It cannot be outside your perception. It's possible to do that. What is non-physical will not come into your perception. You have to dissolve into it. There is no other way. This is why all this talk about surrendering to God is simply because what they're trying to tell you is that which is beyond the physical cannot be grasped. You have to give in. There is no other way. It's because of that, this talk and all this distortion about surrender. Because that which is beyond the physical cannot be grasped by you in any way. You can only merge with it, you can only dissolve into it. The word surrender is not the right word, but that's been commonly in usage. So this dimension, which is a transition between physical and non-physical, can also be grasped to some extent. So it is not that you create it is there. When this is way back, many years ago, I was just painting my farm building and I wanted to evolve easier ways of painting. I don't have the time because I'm doing it single-handedly, I'm painting the whole farm building. So I don't have the time to go like this. So what I do, I dip and just walk from one end to another, and I dip and walk from one end to another. So first smear I dipped and walked. Here it came out thick. As it went, it became thinner and disappeared. I just sat there and it just blew my mind totally, because the whole existence was right there for me. This is all the existence is. Something is gross, it becomes subtler, and it becomes non-material. When it becomes non-material, you call it divine. Very gross, you call it rock or matter. In between there are many levels of subtleness or grossness. That's all existence is. So that point where the paint is very thin is what you're talking about.
Guruji, is there a point of trying to explore our past lives, and is there a way to do it for us consciously?
Is there a way to explore past lives? I know a lot of absolutely ridiculous things are going on in Bombay about exploring one's past lives. Meher, you did? They're just ridiculous psychological exercises. If you really want to see something of the past, you must be able to raise yourself into very heightened levels of awareness where it'll cut through the memory lines. But what's the point? Right now, what has happened in this life, you're not able to handle the memory. What happened 10 years ago, you suffer. When you're in this condition, if you remember 10 lifetimes ago, it'll drive you nuts, isn't it? So there is no point. But at the same time, there are… whatever you call as past life is just unconscious layers of the mind. in terms of memory. If you bring yourself to heightened levels of awareness, these unconscious layers of the mind which are ruling you from within could be broken down, could be dissolved. I don't know if they showed you… Did they show you some clippings of samyama meditation? They did? Okay. It's a 8-day program where we do… It's a very intense process. I think yesterday also we spoke something about this. You will see what happens, as I said yesterday, if I tell you what happens in samyama, fear will come or disbelief will come. Let's say you're sitting and meditating. After some time, you're fully conscious, but suddenly you find your body is beginning to crawl around like a snake. You know it is happening, you want to stop it, but the body is just crawling like a snake. You come out of meditation, you're perfectly normal. You sit for meditation, it crawls. Then maybe it hops around like a bird, maybe it goes around like a dog or a tiger or something, many forms it may take. Why this is happening is, in the unconscious layers of the mind, there are so many dimensions which are not in your excess, but which are influencing everything that you do. So if you go through a process where with the heightened levels of awareness, you bring unconscious layers of the mind into conscious states, not in terms of memory, but in terms of energy and experience, you can work these things out and leave yourself completely free in a big way within yourself. In that context, it is relevant. But remembering something, memory-wise, is not of any consequence. It'll only complicate and mess up your life. Suppose you realized your neighbor's dog was in your previous life, was your husband. Then you'll start throwing stones at your neighbor's dog I don't know whether you'll go and kiss him or you'll throw stones at him both ways it's dangerous, isn't it? Because he doesn't remember. You're throwing stones at him, you'll get into trouble with the neighbor. If you want to kiss him, you'll get in trouble with the dog. So, it's not safe for you, it's not necessary for you. But on a different plane, if you can bring it into your experience without going through the memory process, then it becomes a way of liberating yourself in a certain way. Samyama is a very… What we do is known as karma samyama. There are various types of samyamas, that's why it's karma samyama, where layers and layers of past unconscious mind will just come up and work itself out if you move to a certain level of intense awareness. No suggestions are given to you, no guidance is given to you. Just as you become more aware, suddenly you see the whole body goes through. See, what happens in the mind is never trustworthy. Mind can deceive you in a million different ways. But what happens in the body is real, isn't it? Yes? Has your body ever lied to you? Your mind has lied to you a million times, isn't it so? Body has never lied to you. So that's why we always want these things to happen physiologically, energy-wise, not on the level of the mind, because mind is capable of unlimited hallucination. It can create anything and make you believe it's real. These things are being done in such unscrupulous ways. A lady, you won't believe she is from Bombay, unfortunately. She is from Bombay, but she's now in United States for many years. They made it very big in United States. At one time, on a particular year, this couple earned the maximum amount on the share market. They were the biggest earners on the share market on that particular year. So you can imagine, in United States, the biggest earner per particular year means what they would have earned, okay. Big money they got into. The lady is from Bombay. And she's gotten into this whole thing that now she's mad about all this Hollywood stuff and all this. She's got homes, a couple of homes in Beverly Hills and here, there, everything just to be around there in the scene. And she's gotten hooked onto a psychic who charges $90 per hour consultation on the telephone. In person, it is more. So this psychic has been telling this lady, which this lady firmly believes. So the psychic told her that in your previous life, Tom Cruise was your husband. Richard Gere was your father. So you just have to be around. They will notice you today or tomorrow. So the husband is going nuts because the woman is trying to somehow fall into the eyes of Tom Cruise, throwing parties and buying homes around the place. The husband is just going crazy. Then it came to my notice and so somehow this lady landed up with me and she's 100% sure that in her previous life Tom Cruise was her husband. I knew she's strong on that, so I said, okay, it must have been. But I also knew Tom Cruise in his last life. He was one of the ugliest human beings in his last life, do you know? Huh? She never imagined that he could have a different body. She thought he will be just like that. So I said, I knew him very well in the past life. And he was so ugly, unbearably, do you remember? She just went crazy. So this is what past life stuff is doing to people, driving them crazy and, all kinds of fanciful things. That's not the purpose.
Can you touch about on the topic of ojas that you had bought?
See, the physical body. One of the three main processes which must happen to keep the physical body going is respiration, ingestion and excretion. Yes? As long as these three things are happening, you have no thought, you have no emotion, you have no this, you have no that, but you can still go on, isn't it? No meditation, you can still go on. But respiration, ingestion, excretion must happen. These are three vital activities which needs to happen to keep the physical body going. So all these three things are mainly assisting in converting one form of physical matter into another. See, for example, agriculture. Agriculture means what? You make mud into food. Digestion, you make food into flesh and shit. Yes. So these are all different processes where you're converting one form of physical existence into another. You eat a carrot, you make it into a human being. Tremendous job, isn't it? Eating is not a simple thing. Yes or no? You eat a simple vegetable and you transform it into a human being. If it goes by the evolutionary scale, it must take 10 million years. In one afternoon, you're doing it. It's not a small phenomena. Without understanding the significance and the miracle of what you're doing, you're going on. But if you understand and if you really experience the miracle that you are converting simple things like water and food into a human possibility, it's a tremendous job that you're doing, isn't it? So, always converting one form of physical into another is a natural process which is happening in you. Now, this is nature. If you go by the laws of nature, if you go by the laws of physical nature, let me identify it that way, then naturally, self-preservation is the main instinct and the main process. So all these three things of respiration, ingestion, excretion also connected with self-preservation. If self-preservation is happening well, then the next immediate thing that the physical existence demands is procreation. But that is also self-preservation, preservation of the race, isn't it? So even procreation can be merged as self-preservation, secondary level of self-preservation. But all of it, the physical knows only self-preservation, nothing else but self-preservation, and it's good. If the physical did not have any sense of self-preservation, then you wouldn't exist. Now, you want to cater to a higher dimension within you. There's another part of nature in you which wants to expand, which wants to become something else, which is not willing to settle for the limited, it wants to become boundless. The boundary is always of the physical. Physical means always between two boundaries, isn't it? Big or small, it doesn't matter. Always between two boundaries. Non-physical means no boundaries. So moving from the physical to non-physical also means moving from the bound to the boundless. So to move from bound to boundless, you don't have a vehicle. Right now all that you have is physical. So you're trying to create a vehicle for yourself which is non-physical but can still retain a certain form. So ojas is that dimension where you generate a non-physical energy, but still it has its own individual form. So that is used as a vehicle. If you create sufficient ojas around you, your passage in this existence is well lubricated. You will see life happens effortlessly for you. Wherever you go, you move smoothly. So much turmoil may be happening around you, everybody is going through everything, but somehow your passage is always clear, you keep going. Once you're like this, you can take violent risks in your life, you know. Recklessly you can live. At least other people think you're reckless, but you know where you're going, so there is no hassle about it. One can live in such a way that other people think is superhuman, simply because you have a well-rounded ojas hanging around you, your passage is well lubricated in the existence. In the Far Eastern cultures, an enlightened being is referred to as an enchi. An enchi means a circle. Why they're referring to him as a circle is a shape of least resistance. Why your car wheels or motorcycle wheels are circular, not a rectangle or a triangle? Can you imagine how you would ride on a square wheels? Why it is circle is because it's of least resistance. Any moving part anywhere is circle because it's of least resistance. So, if you create sufficient ojas around you, you become circular, not in body, please don't. Okay. In your existence, you become circular so that your passage is with least resistance through the existence. So ojas creates this possibility.
You said that for any organization to be successful, you need a commitment on the people that work for it. And so is the case with all the volunteers and the people who work in Isha. I'm talking about an organization which is a commercial organization. We have people where let's say 70–80% people are highly committed and the 20% people are inefficient or less committed. How would you like us to handle them?
Fire them. Fire them. Huh?
That might get an instability, the other people who are committed.
No, fire them in stages. If you try to fire all the 30%, you'll be in trouble. You can fire them at 5 at a time.
Would you agree to firing them?
Huh?
Would you agree to firing them?
Why not? Somebody has joined a job and not willing to do the job, what's the point? Somebody takes up some work and is not willing to do it, why should he be there? But what about his life? He'll find a way. Maybe he wants to do an easier job which pays less, let him go and do it.
Sounds very brutal? That's how life is. It's neither brutal nor kind. Anyway, he'll get fired one way or the other. You may not have to fire all the 30% of the people. Probably 5% of the people if you fire, the other 25% will perk up. Yes. In every department, 5% you fire. The remaining people will all perk up. You give them a chance, tell them. See, if this doesn't happen, you're out in 3 months' time. If they don't do it, let them be out. Because what I see is if somebody takes up a job, I believe that he has the intention to do it. If he has no intention to do it, why should he be there? It's a pain for him and for everybody, isn't it?
The man is not capable of doing it.
Huh?
He has all the intention of doing it, but he has…
Oh, then put him in a different job. Right now, suppose I come and sit here to conduct a program and I don't know how to do it, I shouldn't do this, maybe I should go and clean the pool. Isn't it? Whatever I know best, I must do it, isn't it so? Now I am a pool cleaner, but I come and sit here and try to do yoga. I am not saying cleaning the pool is any less. It's just that it's a different kind of activity. What I am good at, I must do, isn't it? If I am not good at it, I must go and find something else. What about it? People are making a big emotional drama about all these things. It is not necessary. Probably in the long run, he will also be happy doing something that he is capable of doing.